This keyboard is a unit I reviewed a year ago, but upgraded to match today's fast magnetic keyboards. You're looking at the Redragon EISA K686 magnetic keyboard with a 90% layout, allowing for more space for mouse movements without sacrificing the numpad. Then you also get a knob on this unit for volume control on the fly, so you don't have to alt-tab out of a game to adjust volumes. This is a gasket-mounted, fully dampened magnetic mechanical keyboard, and I am glad they retained the structure being held down by only screws underneath. For clarity, magnetic keyboards are still considered mechanical keyboards, so don't hate me when I say magnetic mechanical. Anyways, I crowned this one of the easiest keyboards to practice on with modifications back in 2024, and I believe it is the same case up until today. This is a wired gasket-mounted keyboard, but gasket action isn't too much as the gaskets still feel a little stiff. This has an aluminum positioning plate inside, and surprisingly, the keys are somewhat cushioned. Weird. As usual, I tested this out for a ride in gaming, and I really loved how light the switches are, having 35-gram springs in them. I'll go over this in more detail later on, but the keyboard boasts an 8000Hz polling rate and a scan rate which I couldn't find online. I also do not have the tech to measure this, so take whatever I say with a grain of salt. Now, I never felt any issues with the keyboard so far in terms of delay or interferences, as this too has NKRO or all key anti-ghosting, so yes, you can use all 10 fingers and 10 toes. And speaking of using 10 toes, you might break the keyboard and the switches, but if you do, you have extra switches in the box in case you break any. And with that said, this has a hot swap 2-pin magnetic PCB with north-facing RGB LEDs. Magnetic keyboards get their juice from software performance, so let's go over software real quick.
So this is what the web-based software looks like. It's pretty basic, but let me show you here really quick. We have the profile settings right there, so you could choose from 1, 2, 3, or 4. And then the key binding settings will be the first tab right here. And then you will get 4 sub-tabs. You could remap the keys. And then you could add in key combinations right here. And I tried recording a macro a while ago, and it does record even your mouse clicks and mouse buttons. So that was a good thing. Moving on with the advanced settings right here, just click on the button right there, add in the plus button, and you could add in a dynamic keystroke function, mod tap, or toggle key. Next tab right here, we have the lighting options. You have the lighting modes, brightness, speed, and custom colors to choose from right here. Moving on, we have the actuation tab where you could select the actuation points of all your keys. Now, to do that to all keys, just select all and then adjust it right here. I'm gonna set mine to 0.8 and that's all good. Now, if you tick this rapid trigger box, then you could adjust your rapid trigger settings right below that one. On the polling rate tab, I am at 1K. Let's go 8K. But actually, no, I'll stay with 1K. On the calibration, I suggest you calibrate your keyboard when you change switches. So if one switch breaks and you replace that switch with a replacement switch in the box, calibrate your keyboard. Well, there's SOCD. Now let's set it up for A and D. Let me do that real quick. All right, so I have one mode set up right here. All you need to do is press that switch right here to turn it on, create an SOCD setting, and then add in the buttons you want for key 1 and key 2. So I have it set up on A and D and have D set on key 2, and I have it at model 3. All right, on to the last tab right here. This is pretty much self-explanatory. Don't need to explain this. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments section below.
Inside the box, you get the keyboard, cable, key puller combo, 4 extra Redragon Ultra Mag switches, documentation, and some stickers. As I expected, there was no PET anti-dust covers, so get yourself some cloth cover for your keyboard when not in use to slow down dust buildup. The cable is a USB-C cable with a right-angled tip, and this is the case because the USB-C input of the keyboard is at the left side. If you're using a straight cable on your PC and you're too lazy to change that or swap out the cable, then get yourself a right-angled USB-C male to female adapter. This has a plastic knob at the upper right corner, which is a very convenient addition to the keyboard's features. I am used to adjusting volumes using a knob, so this was great. Plus, the knob has textures to it for better grip. Now, onto the keyboard, it has some weight to it, and that is the case because of the aluminum positioning plate. This is also advertised to be fully dampened, and upon checking, yep, you do get a dense foam damper under the positioning plate, and I also believe that underneath the PCB is light pour-on foam, just as advertised. I wish they used silicone dampers here to add more vibration absorption, but Poron foam is just fine. As tapping on the keyboard, there is very little hollowness to it. There is still some level of air inside the keyboard, but it's all just fine. The top housing of the keyboard has a clear separation between the bottom case as they have different colors. I mention this because the top case and the bottom case have different colors and may or may not be appealing to some users, as I personally prefer a single keyboard colorway. Looking underneath the keyboard, you get 2-level kick-up feet with rubber padding so the keyboard doesn't move around your desk. Overall, the build quality was acceptable for the price of the keyboard, and I have no major complaints about it. The keycaps are what I think is the best feature of the keyboard, as the legends are very clear to my eyes. These are double-shot shine-through PBT keycaps in the SA profile. Tall, a little difficult for me to get used to, coming from a cherry profile keyboard main. My fingers curl slightly when typing, and it's probably due to the keycap height. Now onto the stabilizers. These have a lot of room for improvement as they're not perfectly fitted on the plate, which causes rattling. I always mention this in every review I make, and that is to add in some cloth tape onto the contact points between the positioning plate and stabilizers. This should quiet down the stabilizers and improve sound by lessening the rattles. I would advise to add in more dielectric grease on the stabilizers, as I do not see a lot of oil on the stabilizer stem. Moving on to the switches, I like that these are made of full palm, making it not only less rattly but also self-lubricating, thanks to the nature of palm plastic. Inside, you get 37-gram springs, which is perfect for gaming, and as a personal guideline, any spring weight below 40 grams is the best for gaming. They sound clacky, but when paired with a stiff gasket-mounted keyboard with an aluminum plate, they sound a little quiet. Check this out. Now on to aesthetics of this keyboard. This is offered in only one colorway, so you don't get options for a light colored keyboard or a dark colored variant. Maybe in the future, more colorways will be offered, but for now, we only have this. So far, I don't dislike the stock colorway, but at the same time, I'm also not a huge fan of the green hues used on the modifiers. I am a fan of lime green, but not the mossy kind of green that's a little pale. However, on the bright side, if you look into the keycap legends, they compensate for the colorway I did not like too much. And this is because they are mid-aligned and they are also shine-through, matched with north-facing LEDs. Speaking of LED, I think the light is okay in terms of brightness, and I don't need it to be any brighter than it already is. The reason is because the positioning plate is black and absorbs the glow of the RGB, and adding more RGB brightness will not be entirely beneficial. What's important is that I see the legends very well as the light shines directly under it. Good job, Redragon. Double shot shine through mid-aligned legends for the win. You can cycle through RGB modes with the function key and right alt. More RGB controls are seen as subprints on some keys like the delete button, backspace, and the arrow keys. Speaking of lights, this does have 4 light indicators beside the backspace and enter keys. One for numlock, one for caps lock, another for win lock, and one more which I am not really sure what for, but it does have an arrow down icon to it. If you know, let me know, and I will learn so we'll all know. And let's listen, look, listen, and learn. I will leave links down in the description below on where to get your EISA magnetic keyboard. Access those and get your units from there, as I earn a little bit of commission from those. Please do like and subscribe, as it helps out my team a lot and helps the channel grow for you guys. Bye-bye.